The deep sea is a liar. It is vast, silent, and cold, but beneath the surface, it is a world of pure, deafening sound. I am Captain Levent, and tonight, we enter the acoustic dark. In the Arctic, sound is eternal. It travels thousands of miles without decay, preserving every crack, every whisper, every secret. Our story is about a sound that should have decayed decades ago, a message sent from a grave. The year is 1982. Our vessel is the Pallas, a cutting-edge hydroacoustic research submarine, tasked with mapping the deepest, most isolated trenches of the Arctic Circle for men. 3 weeks into a 6-week mission, their world was steel, wires, and the constant hiss of the sonar. They were searching for geological faults, not ghosts. On December 14th, the isolation was shattered. Chief Acoustic Officer Dr. Elias Vance noticed an anomaly on the hydrophones. It wasn't static. It wasn't natural. It was a single, strong ping, followed by a second, precise ping. The signal was too sharp, too deliberate to be a natural phenomenon. It was a code. The team ran analysis. The signal was not modern Morse code. It was an archaic, simplified tapping pattern used by submarines in the 1940s. The signal was clear, as if the sender was transmitting just outside the Pallas's hull, but the depth reading was impossible. The signal was originating from a trench deeper than any known Soviet or NATO sub could safely reach. As Dr. Vance cleaned the filter, the tapping stopped, replaced by something much worse, a voice. It was low, distorted, and seemed to be speaking backwards. The language was isolated to a forgotten dialect of Old Russian. After hours of frantic work, they managed to reverse and clean the audio. The voice was clear, desperate, and young. The decoded voice delivered a single, chilling sentence, repeated on a loop. "We hear the silence coming. The clock has stopped. There's no north." The clock reference immediately brought a shiver to the crew. The message was not asking for rescue. It was delivering a terrifying statement of fact. The Pallas team cross-referenced the signal's precise coordinates with historical records. The source pinpointed a deep abyss known only as the Void. And at the center of the void, history recorded a loss. The Soviet submarine K-12, lost in 1943 during a secret patrol. Its fate unknown. The distress call they were receiving was 39 years old. Yet it sounded brand new. The realization was terrifying. The K-12 was long crushed by pressure. Yet, the signal continued, clear and strong, defying physics. The signal wasn't reflecting. It was broadcasting. The captain, Commander Halston, ordered the Pallas to descend against all safety protocols. "If the message can survive 39 years, he said, I need to know what sent it." The descent was brutal. As the Pallas dropped, the pressure forced the steel hull to scream, but the true danger was auditory. The distress signal became overwhelming, causing severe headaches. The water itself seemed to warp the sound, creating acoustic shadows that played tricks on the sonar, making it impossible to tell if the K-12 was 500 meters or 5 meters away. They found the K-12 resting on the floor of the void. It was not crushed. The 1943 vessel was perfectly preserved, encased in a layer of ancient, black ice that looked like glass. The sub's exterior lights were on. casting pale yellow beams into the crushing blackness. The distress signal's tapping was coming directly from the K-12's communications antenna, which was humming faintly. Commander Halston ordered a two-man team to board the K-1 through the airlock. Despite the immense danger, the team carried portable acoustic recording gear. As they crossed the gap between the subs, they reported the tapping stopped, replaced by the white silence, a total, crushing, unnatural quiet inside the K-12. Time had stopped. The air was breathable but impossibly cold. The crew of the Soviet sub was found frozen, not dead from pressure, but preserved like museum exhibits. They were in their posts, their hands reaching for controls, their faces locked in expressions of intense, silent terror. They were frozen in the act of receiving or sending something. The boarding team reached the communication room. The transmitter was active, faintly warm to the touch. Despite the decades and the crushing depth, the communication officer was seated, his body slumped over the transmitter key. His hand was still resting on the key, but the rhythmic tapping was now coming from below the console. The team confirmed the power source of the transmitter was not the K-12's batteries. They were long dead. The transmitter was being powered by something embedded in the ship's hull, something organic and glowing with a faint blue light, woven into the steel like the parasitic growth on the Seraph. The K-12 was being kept alive. Dr. Vance's team on the Pallas analyzed the rhythmic tapping one final time. It was not Morse code. It was the synchronized heartbeat of the 4 K-12 crew members who were closest to the communications room. The distress signal wasn't a message. It was the biological rhythm of the dead, broadcast by the parasitic power source. But the final discovery came from the K-12 logbook, found on the captain's desk. The final entry, dated 1943, detailed the initial discovery of the white silence and the tapping. The entry read, "We have figured out the pattern. It is not our distress. It is a warning from 1982. They are sending it to us." Commander Halston's breath hitched. The K-12 crew, 39 years ago, had recorded receiving a message from 1980 to the exact message the Pallas crew was analyzing. This was not a ghost ship. It was a temporal echo chamber. The message they received was the one they were about to send. Halston checked the Pallas's main communications transmitter. The K-12's log said the 1982 message was sent using a digital modulator piece of technology, only found on the Pallas. The Pallas was the source. The Pallas was the K-12's future phantom. The K-12 crew had heard their own doom being broadcast back in time. The Pallas team was trapped in a loop. They would vanish here. Their equipment would be activated by the parasitic growth. In their final moments, their terror, their heartbeat would become the frozen distress call that their past selves would receive. The Pallas's lights began to flicker. Dr. Vance, looking at his scope, saw the strange, blue, organic growth from the K-12 spreading across the Pallas's sonar screen. The acoustic shadows thickened. The air vents suddenly expelled frigid, black air. Commander Halston knew the silence was coming for them. Eager to preserve their final moments, Halston gave his final, desperate command, not to escape but to transmit a warning far away from the void. But the systems failed. The tapping, the synchronized heartbeat began to register on the Pallas's communication key. Activated by the entity, the Pallas was now broadcasting. The crew was being turned into a message. The Pallas and its crew were never seen again. Their final, terrified heartbeat now pulses through the Arctic deep, an eternal echo of their final, impossible moments, waiting to be received by the next unsuspecting vessel. They did not vanish. They became the warning. The frozen distress call is not a plea for help. It is the sound of time folding in on itself. If you enjoy these deep-sea mysteries, remember to like and follow. A new voyage awaits in the next chapter of this channel.